Shema Yasharallah Yahweh Allah Hayanawa Yahweh Ahad Shema Yasharallah Yahweh Allah Hayanawa Yahweh Ahad Shema Yasharallah Yahweh Allah Hayanawa Yahweh Ahad Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Kahakdash. I want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule as well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. All right, I was a high spirit wind lawyer out here in the elements. Hey, and con, bro, it is a beautiful view. You know, this is Jake's happy place. You know, I need to be out here more. You know, you be at these jobs, these plants and shit, and I think it lowers the vibration. If you come out here, you know, your spirit gets to unwind. You know. It's a bit windy out here, so brothers can hear me. Let me know. If it's a little windy, just let me know. I can go into my vehicle. You know. But you know, these are things just for the spirit. Yahweh, but Hashem Shai knew what he was doing when he created nature. He knew what he was doing when he created nature. He knew the healing effects of nature. You can only imagine, you know, the time of Adam, the pre-flood era, you know, or before Adam got kicked out of the garden, you know. But today I want to go into a topic entitled cleaning, you know, getting rid of the leaven, getting rid of our leaven, getting rid of our leaven right before the Passover, as it says in the scriptures. A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. And that ties into, you know, shortcomings, character flaws, my elder Kazak was going into on this page. It goes into weaknesses. It goes into, how can I put this? Like I said, weaknesses, man, things you struggle with. It could be pride, the ego. It could be lust. It could be, you know, addictions. You know, being excessive in things. You see, and hey, the scriptures tell us to what? Rule over ourselves, man. All right, the foundation for being a disciple of Yahweh Shai is having self-control, man. All right, self-control. Okay, and Yahweh Bahashemah Shai, he's searching Jerusalem with candlelights, man. All right, and one thing he does is spring cleaning around this time of the year, as well as the Day of Atonement. All right, so the scripture says what? To examine ourselves whether we be in the faith. And the thing is to do spring cleaning within ourselves, man, because there are certain habits, certain darknesses that we have within ourselves that have to be purged out, man. Because if we don't purge out these habits, if we don't purge out these thought processes, if we don't, you know, renew ourselves, reprogram our spirit, so to speak, you know, get the filth out. All right, what it's going to do? What is it going to do? It's going to contaminate us. If we don't get that cancer in this early stage, what is going to do? It's going to unalive you. All right. If you don't get that, the parasites out of you, if you don't get that filth out of you, what does it do, man? It causes contamination. If you don't take the trash out, what does it do, man? It brings in little insects and unwanted little pests, and it contaminates the environment. Okay? And one of the hardest things to do is to overcome yourself. The hardest, one of the most challenging things to do is to deconstruct the old mindset that you have and reconstruct it, man. Because you come into this truth, and you come into this fold. But if it doesn't happen when you wake up in the truth immediately, there's going to come a point in time where you're going to have to destroy certain ways in which you look at yourself. You're going to have to destroy certain outlooks you have on life, because it was really something that was developed before you came into the truth, most likely, man. Or certain things you may have misunderstood when you first came into the truth. All right, certain things that you internalized the wrong way when you came into this truth, and therefore you had a misunderstanding. Like I know when I first came into the truth, you know, um, I didn't understand certain things, or I had certain questions, from the personal camp leader, and our own camp leader, that really wasn't answered, or he didn't really understand, and it's like, damn, now, or just certain, or you didn't do your due diligence to go and get certain understanding. So now, you know, I have to relearn certain things, or revisit certain things. I'm not gonna put it all on him, but when I'm making a point that, long story short, you have to go and relearn things or learn things, man. You know, it's like in your physical life, certain things you didn't learn in your boyhood, in your upbringing, but now you might be 30 years old. Now you got to relearn it, or learn what you should have learned when you was younger. You know, same thing in this truth, man. Some things you have to learn or relearn, or you might be a late bloomer with certain things, man. But better late than never. You see. But also going back to purging out that leavening, man. And a little leavening leavens the whole lump, man. It goes and that ties into the book of Sirach, man. Wine and women maketh men of understanding. Because what we're taught in this society is that we're spirits inside these bodies. We're just maneuvering inside these bodies. But the Creator, Yahweh Bahasham Shai, designed these bodies to be contrary to Him. So one thing that pleases Him is you are resisting your body. You're resisting the mechanism and the device to get closer to Him. So any form of practice that mitigates your desires, all right, by the law of flesh and spirit, it strengthens that spirit, man. Which strengthens that connection. Now your frequency is high. You're on the right radio station, I'm out here at the reservoir. Jake out here getting it in, fishing, But, going back to Sirach in regards to leavening, all right, your habits, they can keep it real with yourself. If you're indulging too frequently, it could become a poison. That's just the nature of things. All right, Salak. That is the nature of things, man. Certain things in moderation. The key is moderation. All right, certain things is good in moderation. It's strict in moderation. But indulgence is poison. You see, excessiveness becomes poison. You see. So if you had a dainty, you had a delicacy, you had a drink, you had a woman, who gives a fuck? It's cool. Most High created that for you. But when it's excessive, then it becomes what? A poison. And what does poison do when you consume it? Man, you become poison. You become rotten. You become consumed. You see? So the scriptures, specifically Sirach, it goes into addictions. It goes into surfeiting. All right. So we have to really, examine ourselves, man. And we be our own. We search our inner city with the candlelight of Yahweh Bashmal Shah. We examine ourselves, so the Most High won't have to do it and bring judgment. You see. So those things that destroy brothers in moderation is not a poison, but too much of it, when it's in excess, it becomes a poison. A woman woman can balance a man out. A harlot, just keeping it real with you. A harlot can balance you out because your tank gets full. You know what I mean? And you have to release so you can concentrate. You see? But too much of a woman, too much of a harlot, guess what? It's poison. If you give your mind over it, I think that's Sirach 9. Give not thy soul to harlots to set, lest they set their foot upon your substance, something to that effect. But it's the overconsumption, and we have to examine these things, man. Our occupation with business affairs, the scriptures speak about these things. All right, but you have to be honest and say, okay, is this drowning out the spirit, man? And then as a balance, you could be consumed in a word, which is a beautiful thing, and be negligent in your practical affairs, and there's a balance. And one thing that the spirit was on me to understand, and one thing that the spirit has me to say, is that there are certain things you have to moderate. There are certain things that, there are certain things you have to be moderate with. All right? So there's certain things you have to be moderate with, and there's certain things you have to abstain from. And that's the key to your Libra scales, man. That's a key to having balancing in this gospel, man. It's truth. Discerning and having the discipline to be moderate with certain things, and having the discipline to abstain from certain things, man. Prove thy soul in thy life. Because believe me, certain things, you might be justifying it because it's not a sin. All right. And like I said, in proper moderation, it is beneficial. But if that's your weakness, man, hey, you just got, it'll consume you, it'll overtake you. And we have an active op. We have an active enemy, man. Satan is not some metaphorical figure, some figurative language figure. Like, no, he's real. And he knows what you like. He could take what you like and turn that into a poison. You see? He could take the things your flesh likes and turn it into a poison. He could take anything. He could take the natural you and turn it into a poison. What do I mean? You might be a natural reclusive brother, as a lot of brothers are. But he could take that reclusive nature and just make you be consumed in negative thoughts, man. You know? There have been men that they had strife, they had conflicts with their leader or conflicts with other brothers in the truth. And by the time they're in council, they're consumed by a demon. The demon consumed them. Because they sat there in solitude with just being consumed in a negative view, having an evil eye towards certain brothers, man. You see? You know? Or, like I said, we don't check ourselves with certain lusts or certain habits. We don't check ourselves, and by the time, it's brought to the surface, boom, destruction. Something destroyed you, or you just got a habits, and you go after the flesh, and you go after what feels good, and it stunts your growth, man. One of the biggest things that stunts your growth, besides your fucking pride, is your fucking your ride, man. If anything that pulls your attention to where all your cravings, all your desire, all your ambition is going to this one thing, man, that stunts your growth. Because we have to be immersed in His Word, man. And Yahweh Bahashmal Shah requires our spirits to be clean, man. Our mind to be pure, man. You wouldn't eat off a dirty plate. So we can't feast on Yahweh Shai if our plate is freaking dirty, man. We can't feast on Yahweh Shai if our plate is dirty. You gotta clean your plate, man. Then you can feast on Yahweh Shai. And once again, these are just examples of things that we have to check ourselves with. Once again, there are certain things that you can be moderate with, and there are certain things you have to abstain from, man. Salak Jake got a great nose hair, bro. You know, have to the, you know how they can look, but it's a great nose hair, man. You know, but that's pretty much the point, man. Um, you know, getting rid of that leaven, because it's good to have fear, because we don't know if we the elect. We don't know that Yahweh by Shema Shai is just using us to build up other brothers, man. And that's it. And get rid of us. We don't want that. But then we have to do what we have to do to decrease that chance, man. At least we did what we had to do, man. You know? Hey, the scripture says, if thy right hand offend thee. And sometimes that leavening is as functional as your right hand. What do I mean by that? Sometimes your right hand is not the next man's right hand. All right? Sometimes, well, the thing that offends you or makes you stumble is not what offends the brother next to you and make him stumble, man. But if your right hand is women, man, hey, if women cause you to stumble, hey, you gotta be real, man. Some brothers have to be that monk. That's not something that's pushed amongst the body. You know, gotta keep it real. Certain men not even in the truth. Men in the truth and men outside the truth. They don't drink at all because liquor causes them to stumble. All right, but you know, that's being aged in the truth, to where another man don't have to tell you to sit down. You know when to sit down. Another man don't have to tell you, hey, put that down. You know when to put that down. And sometimes to put something down means to put it down permanently, man. Until we have a kingdom that's in our likeness, man. And not living in, and we're in the new bodies, man. You see? A right hand can be anything, man. And I'm making an effort. I'm not making an effort to pinpoint one thing, man, or target a particular type of brothers, man. I'm just addressing all type of temptations that we all deal with, man. Things that trouble me, things that I've struggled with, and things that Yahweh Bahashim Shai has pulled me out of, man. You see? Things that you've done videos on, and 6 months later, your own video is cutting you, man. Or years later, it's like, damn, I did a video on that. Now I'm getting cut by that video, man. It'll be like that if you don't examine yourself, if you don't check yourself, man. That's why the Apostle Paul said, I put my body under subjection, lest I myself be a castaway. You know? Can brothers hear me? You know, well, I think the wind has calmed down. I know before I started and right when I started, the wind was pretty aggressive. You know? But I mean, look, that's pretty much the point, man. You know? That we purging out the leavening. So it'll be when the death angel passes by, all right, we're good, man. Okay? We following the protocols, all right, to follow before the death angel comes, which is your Howard side, man. All right, but with that, I hope this was of edification. Once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Hawashai, Bahashim Rachahakodash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Abba Bao, Kum Yasha Allah, Shalom.